In Psalm 37, let me start from verse 11. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotted against the just, and gnashed upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. That's the wicked. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. He said, their swords shall enter into their own hearts, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. A little that a righteous, so for the arms of the wicked shall be broken. The arms of the wicked shall be broken. But the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as of fat lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous sheweth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. Then look at what God began to say. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and am now old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken. This is where God now began to talk about the next generation. He said, nor his seed begging bread. David said, I was young, now I am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed beg bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. He lendeth, he blesses, and his seed is blessed. Then the Bible said, for the Lord loveth justice, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and shall dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of justice. The law of his God is in his heart, nor none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passeth away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright. For the end of the man is peace, but the transgressor shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord, but he is their strength in their trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him. Now, when you read this, you see a comparison between the righteous and the wicked. And you see, like I said, what bothered me is that God said his seed shall be cut off. Look at the poor boy, the poor girl, who never knew what the parents did, who was not there when the parents did, did not consult with the parents, only for the pay the price of the iniquity of his father. There was a king in Israel who did evil and cried. He repented when God confronted him with his iniquity. He cried, and God said, oh, when God saw that he repented, God said, okay, I am not going to punish you, but in the days of your children, I will execute that judgment. The case of David is known to all of us. It's known to all of us. God said, you did it in secret, but your seed shall do it in the open. And we knew that his son slept with his wife on top of the roof. What an evil. His son, Reuben, the first son, the man of his excellency, the man of his strength, slept with his wife in the open place. This one was not hidden. Excuse me. If not for anything, people should know that the wickedness that you do does not end with you. It transfers to your children. Why would you allow your children to suffer for something they don't know about? So I said, look, friends, we must be careful what we do. Look at Nigerians. Everybody was happy that we are going to be giving the best democracy of our time. Everybody trusted the, what we may call, the integrity of our president as it was in 1983, 84, and 85. When he stood for the justice, when he brought discipline upon Nigeria. But because it's democracy, we look at what we are going, we are suffering. Before he said blood will flow, baboon will do this. And then out of whatever it is, government was given to our leader, the president. Excuse me. And since then, blood has been flowing because we have not had peace. Kidnapping, terrorism, separatist agitations arising from bad governance, agitation for unfairness and inequality. Hospitals are not functioning. People are dying of very simple sicknesses. Schools are not working. Children are losing their years. Growing old at home because there are no schools. Their lecturers are on strike. The roads are bad. Contracts are given. People share the money. The one that they will do it so badly that it will not last more than 6 months. And accidents are happening because of bad road. Insecurity because the security people are not well equipped. Corruption has grown everywhere. That even when money is provided, those who are in authority both in security and government share the money that no equipment are provided. Every year they give us billions of naira that was spent on security, that was spent on education, that was spent everywhere, and we don't get value for money. And then finally, we were promised a very high level, high-tech election, and people were happy, excited, prepared, came out. It's true that this was not generalized. I know in Enugu State, a large number of places were peaceful, but some places there were no election did not start on time. Some it didn't hold. Some areas we learned that the places the electoral materials were taken. They were not loaded in beavers. The server went offline. And in some other areas and some other places, like Rivers State and Lagos and so many places, thuggery and violence were introduced, supervised by the agencies of government, INEC and security, that there was no restraint, and results were declared and became accepted, and the president was elected on such scenario. How can justice come? And then people want to express themselves, they are being intimidated. Where is justice? Where is righteousness?
The president has been elected. What would you have advised him in the next coming election? Would you have advised?
I don't have any advice because if justice was not brought in the election, I don't expect justice to come in the governance. Excuse me. That's what happened even in the present government. There was no justice in the election, and that's why we can't get justice. So, are you giving advice to people who are willing to do the right thing?
What do you think they have to do to correct this in our market?
To correct it, elections should be repeated in the areas where there were verifiable proof that elections did not hold, election materials were hijacked, the results were mutilated, all those areas that there were verifiable evidence, elections should be repeated in those areas. It is only when that is done that the result will come in the right way, then we can have anybody who can be our president.
Considering the lean result we have in the country.
Which lean result? The one that stolen. They should go and bring our money from United States and America and Switzerland, where they hid it, and bring it. We have enough money.
My lord.
Hey.
Please.
Excuse me, we have money. They don't bring back our stolen money in their purses, in their accounts. Which lean resources? Nigeria is not poor. Excuse me, Nigeria is not poor. It is our leadership that have impoverished us.
As we go into the March 11th election,
Yes.
would you want to advise? Who would you want to advise? Either the electorate or the umpires?
See, I'm advising everybody. First is the federal government, who have the power to manage all the agencies that are responsible for elections. They should bring the executive power and bring justice into it. Security agencies, the electoral body INEC, even the judiciary that has not come in should also be brought in immediately. Because I know they are going to form tribunals. Any judge who is found not to be courageous and prepared to ignore money and be able to stand on justice should not be appointed to tribunal. And then the electorate should be bold enough to come and make their choices of candidates they want. And they should be there to defend their votes. If anybody comes to vandalize, hijack, bulldoze their way to carry the materials, the people should resist them. And security agencies should support the electorate to defend their votes. That's why they are there. Not to support those who come to hijack the elections, as we saw in some places here in the southeast and in rivers, south, and some part of other countries, another part of the country, and the western part of the country. They were all available there. The security agencies were now following them, doing nothing, and the electorate were left helpless. So if they don't do that, then we don't have any election. Our oil is being sold every day. The monies are coming. People should use the money for what the money is meant for. So we can't say in the midst of lean resources. Which lean resources? With Nigeria don't have any lean resources. The fact is that those in power and authority, whether in the executive, whether in the legislative, whether in the judiciary, whether in the civil service, in the private companies, wherever they are working, many are stealing the common resources. It's a systemic problem. Even in churches, church leaders, religious leaders are partnering with wickedness, taking money from people in power, supporting evil. A good number of us. So it's a general problem that we have. We've been crying about this for years. For this 16 years we have been bishop, we've been talking about it, and we can stand our ground anywhere. You can't find us connected with any of those things. But there are church leaders who have sold their souls. That's why the church is not bold even at a certain point to talk. Religious leaders were all running away. We are careful. Are religious elections also free? There are corruptions. There are riggings going on everywhere. It is a sick nation.
Is there anything prayer can do in that respect?
Prayer can do, but prayer does not act in empty space. Prayer acts on people. God, we have a situation. The current situation in Nigeria generally is like the experience of the people of Israel in Egypt. where people have sold their souls to darkness and they have hardened themselves against the will of God. So even when you pray, in fact, my greatest fear right now, is the impending judgment of God. Because anybody who becomes, any group of people, nation or people, who become obstinate to what God wants to do, gives themselves to the judgment of God. They give themselves to judgment of God, and that's my greatest fear. Because when God will judge Nigeria, we'll be amazed what will happen amongst us. Because no group may be free, including the religious leaders may not be free. Because we have committed so much impunity.
You mean the religious leaders?
I'm telling you the truth. We rig elections, even in the religious circles. So, and I believe that that's even more of the reasons, because you see, iniquity is a problem. God is a God of righteousness. I've told some of my friends who come around, I said, the greatest problem Nigeria has is even the religious group. Because if there is no righteousness within the religious group, how do you think that God will justify the general body? They're talking about prayer. Why is it that prayers are not being answered? Who is praying? He that must go for equity must come with clean hands. Before you go to the presence of God and cry to him to ask you to do something, you, even in your small location of a church, are you practicing righteousness? The offerings of the church, are they safe in your hand? The money committed into your hand, the women and the people of God, the ladies committed to you inside into your hands in your church, are they safe? How many church people or leaders are free of occultism and all kinds of things? People do ministry today with occultism. People do ministry with charms and talisman, and they are preaching in the name of the Lord. So it's a terrible situation we have found in our generation. And like the days of Jeremiah and Ezekiel, when there was so much idolatry within the people of Israel, within the church setting, God was crying. And Ezekiel, in one of the days in Ezekiel chapter 11, God lifted him up and took him to the temple, and there was a small hole, and he looked into the temple, and the religious leaders inside the temple, we are consulting Tammuz, the god of the land where they dwell. Exactly the same thing that's going on in our religious bodies today. So it's a very difficult situation. People are even killing in the name of power struggle in the religious bodies, in the church, in some denominations, in some churches. When the leader goes or retires or is about to retire, you see people fighting among themselves, trying to make juju, trying to give money to be elected to become a church leader. And is that righteousness? Do we think that God is sleeping? And all these have contributed to the level of wickedness in our midst, and that's why it looks as if prayers are not working. We are praying, but we are praying iniquity. Isaiah 59 says, my hand is not showing that I cannot reach you, or my ear is deaf that I cannot hear you. But your iniquities have separated you from me. The iniquities of the church and the people of God in Nigeria have caused a lot of blow to us.
You think your healing will come?
Healing will surely come, because there is a remnant. There's a remnant crying to God. And only God knows those who are the remnant. I can't stay in this television station or this interview to say that I know the people. But there are remnant. God knows the heart of everybody. The righteous is open to the Lord. The wicked is open to the Lord. But I fear for Nigeria because of the impending judgment that will come. The thing is using military power to parade that may not bring judgment. No. Excuse me. God has several means of judging the people. He's done it before. He has not changed. Nigeria is a covenant nation. Nigeria is God's beloved nation. Nigeria is a nation God has prepared to do great work in end times. But the iniquity of Nigeria cannot stop God from doing that. God can be patient, but let's not exhaust the patience of God. Because if it comes, all actually I'm calling is for a national days of mourning and repentance and restitution in our land. In fact, it's very strange right now. Who can actually advise who in Nigeria? The religious body advising the people in power, the politicians, or the business leaders, or who? The one that they give money and they will go and inaugurate, they will go and witness the inauguration of an unholy alliance. I don't even know. It's a troubling time. It's a very troubling time. But surely we will not cease to pray. Surely we will not cease to say what is right. We'll be called to proclaim what is right. And surely we will stand by what is just and righteous.